Hello, and welcome to Diminishing Returns, the podcast where three film fans discuss an intellectual property and then pitch their own ideas for sequels to that property. In this week's show, we're continuing our Alien season by looking at the Alien vs. Predator duology, perhaps the two most miserable films we've ever covered, involving the famous xenomorph coming to Earth and doing battle with the Predator creature from that other sci-fi 20th Century Fox film series. First, in an ancient pyramid deep beneath the surface of Antarctica, and then in a small Colorado town. There's obviously a lot of negative things to say about these movies, but we honestly do find a couple of things worth praising in the first one at least. But if bitching about bad movies is what you like best from us, then, well, you're in for a good one today. The following podcast contains spoilers for Alien vs. Predator, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Batman vs. Aliens, and Skyline. Enjoy! Hello, welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem. I'm Calvin, and with me are, everyone's favourite gringo, Saul.
That's racist.
Muchas gracias, Calvin.
No, I looked up.
Arriba!
I looked up if it was racist beforehand, and apparently it isn't.
It's because it's aimed at white people, so it can't be racist.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's what Mexican people called whites.
Oh, never mind then. Well, and and there's Alan as well. Say hi,
Oh,
Alan.
hello.
Right. Great. So, following on from our discussion about the proper Alien films last week, where
Whoa. That's a leading intro.
Are you?
But fair.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Saul, would you really say that these are part of the continuity?
Yeah, man. Alien versus Predator. That should be there on the timeline with all the real film. Oh shit, no. No, I hate them.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Huh, okay.
Just wipe them from the face of the earth, like the nuclear explosion at the end of the second one.
Oh, we'll get there, but we fawned a lot last week. We're all big Alien fans, and I think I'm right in assuming that none of us especially like these films, but I will probably be the defender of Alien vs. Predator, the first one, to an extent.
Your Paul W.S. Anderson connection's coming out.
I love him!
I think he's your cousin or something, isn't he?
It may be worth going back and listening to our Resident Evil episode to set the tone for this one if you haven't already heard it.
Yeah, because Alien vs. Predator, for those who don't know, was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, whose brainchild, I guess, was the Resident Evil film series. And on the back of Resident Evil being successful, he somehow got to do Alien vs. Predator, which is his dream. Like, I watched a load of, seriously, there's too many hours worth of bonus materials on this DVD, but I watched quite a few of them, and Paul W. Anderson, had this idea, years previously, 10 years previously. It was, something that he's wanted to do for so long.
I have a quick question.
Right.
What accent does Paul W.S. Anderson have?
He's from Newcastle, isn't he?
He's from Newcastle, but he talks a bit sort of northern and nerdy,
Okay.
and all the aliens go over the temple, and it's really great. He's got no enthusiasm to him, bless him. But
okay.
How do you end up with? I'm trying to think of the studio executive mentality that put this man at the helm, because I mean we might have disagreed on the quality of some of the other Alien movies, but I mean each one had a director who they had a vision, as some of them, even though the studio interfered. And the prolific directors, each one went on to be hugely successful, and
yeah, I mean, David Fincher had only done commercials and music videos at that point. I don't know if he'd ever done a feature film before.
I suppose
certainly hadn't done a lot of them if he had.
But I suppose they all sort of found fame later on. Like even Ridley Scott had only done like one film before, and I think James Cameron had just done Terminator. So yeah,
there you go. They plucked Paul
yeah.
W.S. Anderson fresh off of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Someone saw potential in him for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, bear in mind, he had also directed a few other films, like Event Horizon.
I forget that.
Mortal Kombat, he did. And things like that. So he'd done. I guess he'd got action credits behind his name. You know.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't deny the guy's an Alien fan. He knows the franchise inside out, and that probably came through when he had meetings. And they want someone with passion behind it. Maybe.
You know, I'm not even convinced that you want Alien fans behind the camera for this franchise anymore. I think it would probably benefit from just bringing in like J.J. Abrams or someone who doesn't give a shit to just kind of make a really corporate, like well thought through film just to get everything back on track.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a problem with having a fan behind it as long as they've also got some semblance of talent.
Yeah. Maybe.
How are we approaching this? Do you just want to start listing off the complaints, or what are we going to do? Well, let me just throw a cat amongst the pigeons here then, because basically my response to Alien vs Predator wasn't that bad. It was not good. Don't get me wrong, but it was not as bad as I was expecting. I was just come off the Resident Evil films, and
You'd seen it before, right, Alan?
Yeah, I have. And it was sort of fairly watchable, and it kind of it does everything. It's like it has all the ingredients, but there's just no one there to put them together. I think that's the problem with it. But there's kind of enough things there that I go, right, this has been made by someone who's seen films, understands how they work, but hasn't been able to make it actually work. It's like if you gave me all the ingredients for a chocolate cake, and I could look at a chocolate cake, but I wouldn't necessarily be able to put those ingredients together because I don't know how to bake.
I'm with you on this one, Alan. Like, I haven't seen it in many years, but I watched it a few times. I think I might have even seen it at the cinema. And yeah, I thought it was perfectly passable as an hour and a half bit of entertainment.
I don't know if I'd quite go that far, but basically my expectations were so low that I kind of came out of it going, it's better than Resident Evil.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to be the hater role in this one then, because I think this film is a complete and utter abomination. I think it's arguably worse than Resident Evil in that it takes two beloved franchises and runs them into the ground this time.
Is the Predator franchise really that beloved? Like, we're not going to talk too much about Predator. We're going to save that.
Right,
for
we'll do a Predator
podcast,
episode.
but...
Like, that's a given. We're going to get there at some point. But
yeah.
Not to spoil anything, I quite like the Predator films. And in terms of consistency throughout the franchise, I would say it's probably better than Alien, to be honest.
Ooh,
oh my god.
Come on. I mean, Predator is good. Predator 2 is easily
Predator
as
2.
bad as
I'm an
Alien
apologist.
versus Predator. I would say...
no, come on.
Okay, no, maybe not. It's because it's... Perhaps not just because it's got a bit more of a kind of quirky 80s charm that we kind of accept this
Predator 2
absurdity.
Is a cheesy 80s or 90s, whenever it was, action movie. It's not great, but it's good fun. I don't dislike it, but we're getting very, very ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
We're getting like a year ahead of ourselves.
Because I count these as more Predator movies than Alien movies. If I were to sort of like, line up my DVDs in franchise order, these would go with Predator.
Well, if I was going to line them up, I'd have to have like Alien and Predator next to each other with these as like the gap, the dam between the two.
I think
except I wouldn't have these on my shelf. I'd
I think I'd have to have a bowl of human feces and then just stack them next to that. No, I definitely think this is an alien film with predators in it because the first one is definitely because it is just an alien fanboy, recreation of Alien. It's definitely an alien film, and then the predators just sort of come in. But,
shall I start with some? Shall I start with a positive before I lay into it?
Yes, please.
Is
it the colour?
Special effects are pretty good. Like the alien creature work is perhaps the best in the franchise. In terms of the well, I guess it's mostly CGI, but I assume there's some puppets and things in there. It all looks pretty good. The creatures, you were sort of dismissing a lot of the creature work in Aliens and what have you in our previous episode, but I think this one really does a good job with it.
Yeah,
I agree with yeah.
And that's about the extent of what I can say in its favour.
All right, so do we go down the logic hole here? Because I have a lot of logic questions.
We'll never get out.
Why is there a pyramid in Antarctica?
Because
it's an ancient.
Isn't it something where they say Antarctica used to be like a desert, however many years ago, and I think there's a very loose, poorly understood link to real science there. Like, I think the climate of Antarctica was very different, but I don't think it was at a time that lines up with human civilization. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well,
can I just get the one that angers me the most off my chest, because it's going to be distracting me if not, and like I cannot. This for me sums up how beyond stupid this film is. Just the level of brain dead. Like just like I can't express it. I don't know how this got through to the finished film. Right. But the bit when the temple moves every 10 minutes. Yeah. Right? And it all moves and shifts around. Like, that's
not the bit that annoys you. Okay. Go on.
No. The thing that annoys me is that the guy says, "Oh, well, they must be running on metric time. That means it's every 10 minutes." And then that seems to be correct. Now, like, metric time, a minute would be 10 seconds long or 100 seconds long, or it would be a division of the entire day, like a 100th of the day, with an hour being a 10th of the day. Like, a minute would not be 60 seconds long, and their concept of a second wouldn't... Why would that link up with what we think of as being a second? Like, what fucking brain-dead idiot thought that was just acceptable? And then they're right, and it does move every 10 minutes. And they use it in the film.
The beauty of that nonsense is that it's the culmination of a lot of other nonsense that I hate. Like, for example, we discussed this last week, but stones moving magically with no kind of power source, and like these ancient ruins that just move, like in bloody Indiana Jones or something. And then also... I love it when people just read like ancient language hieroglyphics as if they're doing a French GCSE textbook. It's just like, oh yeah, I think that means it's something about their gods and they created civilization. And then they've just got the whole picture.
There's another big one tying into the time. They set the clock on that sarcophagus thing to 10:10 because they're dealing with metric time. So 10th of October. Why the fuck would this Aztec technology or whatever it is sync up with the Gregorian calendar that wasn't developed until centuries later? Like, what? Seriously, like what who was it? Paul W.S. Anderson who wrote this film?
Yes,
of course.
Well, there we go. But I don't know how, like, not a single producer, no one at Fox, no one read it and said, "Oh, come on, let's reword this." None of the actors on set, like the actor saying the words, didn't read it and go, Oh, Paul, I've just had a thought, actually. This would make more sense if it was, it baffles me. It boggles the mind.
Yeah. What else?
Another good
Do we
thing.
hate
Another
about
good thing. Lance Henriksen's back. We all liked him, didn't we?
Oh, so Lance Henriksen is Bishop in this. So that
Yes.
means the Bishop in Alien 3 was definitely an android, which we were discussing last week.
Oh, but I don't think Paul W.S. Anderson likes the third and fourth Alien films. He seems to not really include them in the continuity that he rewrote.
Well, that's good for him, but they exist, so still shit.
Yeah, so he's
But
like...
this is a prequel anyway, isn't it? I mean...
There's a dispute in Alien 3 if Bishop is an android or if he's the real Bishop on which the android is based. This is set hundreds of years previously, so that means if this is Bishop... And also, Bishop is now Wayland. Is that part of the story as well?
I think the producer or someone described it as it's like the equivalent of hundreds of years from now, Microsoft is still around and people develop an android that looks like Bill Gates just because...
I could totally see that happening with Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that being the next big thing, like when Apple bring out an eye butler or whatever.
It'll just be Steve Jobs.
But then it would have to be a really cantankerous like robot that if you ask it to do anything, it just kind of starts shouting at you and getting angry and stabbing you in the back.
I want mine to be Steve Jobs as played by Michael Fassbender.
Oh yeah. I want it to be Steve Jobs as played by Ashton Kutcher.
So, can we talk a little bit about the cast? Lance Henriksen is obviously the only familiar face coming back, but Colin Salmon is here. He was in Resident Evil.
What's going on with Colin Salmon and Paul W.S. Anderson? Are they in some sort of relationship?
I think
Colin
they're
Salmon
just
seems to do him a
mates.
lot of favours.
Well, I think Colin Salmon has a lot more praise for Paul W.S. Anderson's work than anyone else. Like, again, in the behind-the-scenes stuff, the interviewer says to him, what attracted you to this script? And he honestly, without no tongue-in-cheek, his response was, well, to be honest, it was the depth of the story, the script, that attracted me to the project. And it's
Meant literally, he meant because they go under the ground.
So I think they're just good mates.
But yeah, I just want to say, positive note, the casting of Ewan Bremner in the film.
Oh, I knew you were going to
is-
love him.
Well, it's not even that I love him necessarily. I just think that on paper, putting him in the world of Alien makes so much sense. He's the right sort of guy to encompass that sort of, working class, gritty British element that the other films have had a lot of. So I just think, like I say, on paper, he made a lot of sense.
He's the only one in the crew who doesn't look like a movie star, which I like. Like, he looks like a normal person.
Yeah. And Ewan Bremner is a great actor. We've seen it. It's proven.
Yeah.
And in this, he's not bad. In fact, none of the actors particularly come out of this like, oh god, that was just shit acting. But it also feels,
I don't know. Leading
but it also
lady.
feels
They get away with it a lot
undirected,
more
I
than
think,
in the Resident
perhaps.
Evil films, for example.
Yeah. But yeah, perhaps just lacking direction. So you get an actor, give them a script, and they'll interpret it. But you need someone to, guide them and make sure that it's going well. And I think, I just think like the likes of Ewan Bremner are just completely wasted here.
But the main, the star of the movie is, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Sana Latham? Something. She was a voice on the Cleveland show, I understand. But she's supposed to be our new Ripley, isn't she? How do you feel about her?
She wasn't. I didn't think she was terrible or anything.
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
She was just. I mean, she was just like any of the cast in the film for me, to be honest. Like,
I mean, I think
thought the character
they're
was
all
quite
hamstrung because
uninteresting,
it's long established. Paul W.S. Anderson cannot write, and so every character has no depth. Every bit of dialogue feels like it's written by someone who's never had a conversation with a human. So what happens? Is it I can't remember. Are they? No, I can't remember what happens in this film. Somebody wiped it from
so they find.
I know that the woman is like, she's asked to be a guide, and she's like, well, no, it's ridiculous. They need training, or they're all going to die. And then they go, all right, cheers anyway. And then she decides to go. That's what I remember.
No. I mean, there's some kind of satellite picks up something in Antarctica, and Wayland discovers that there's a pyramid underneath all the ice, and he's dying, and he wants to have, like, one last adventure or something, so he gets all these people together, putting them in great danger, I might add, say that this is just a lark for him. And what does he think he's going to find there? I can't remember.
Well, he's dying, isn't he? So is he?
Yeah, but why does he
the
think
secret to eternal life? Or something?
No, that's Prometheus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he might be into that from a young age. It might have been something that, you know.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway,
plagued his mind for years.
Anyway,
decades.
Of course, it turns out that Predators taught us how to build pyramids, and they
let's
do
not
their,
skip
like,
over that there's a load of shitty CGI maps, just like in Resident Evil, for them to look through. He loves those shitty little.
Well, how
CGI
else are you going to get a sense of the geography of the place?
Well, you know,
did you get a sense of the geography of the place?
No.
You know what this film does? Like, as a substitute for characterization, it just gives them an accent. So it's like right, this one's Italian, this one's English, this one's Scottish.
I think he actually says Mamma Mia.
That's what the Resident Evil films do as well.
Aren't there, like, I'm trying to remember now, like, aren't there a load of security guys who are really kind of aggressive for no apparent reason?
Yeah, I mean, we get, like, about 10 seconds worth of characterization from everyone in this crew, and I think they're the tough guys. There's this woman with short hair, Rousseau, who has, like, 2 lines and then gets a face hugger on her, and alien pops out of her, so it's... Yeah. I think we just get introduced to all these different characters in these incredibly short bursts, because Paul W.S. Anderson can't invest an audience in anything.
But this is a scientific exploration, really. So why have they got all the guns?
Do they know that there's going to be aliens and predators? I really can't remember.
No. But I haven't been to many Antarctic science bases, but are they well armed? Just in case?
I would guess.
I don't know, a lot of penguins come out or something?
I think they've usually got a flamethrower in there if the thing's taught us anything. Which you could justify, because they might need to, like, melt their way out of some ice.
Can we talk about the fighting now between the alien and the predator?
Yeah, I want to say that is like, this film should not be anything worse than kind of mediocre, because in theory you should just be able to watch Alien and Predator fighting, and that should be kind of fun, kind of cool, even if the story doesn't hold up. But Paul W.S. Anderson is so incompetent that the action sequences are just so shit. Like this, that you can't see anything. It's that classic thing of shaky camera work that's so close to what's going on in a dark room. You can't. It's just a blur of grey. You can never see anything.
I kind of disagree. Like I have a better understanding of what's happening in these action scenes than in the next film, but we'll get onto that later, I suppose.
I wouldn't use that as a bar for acceptable.
I thought the fighting was pretty good. It takes a while to get there. I think it's about like halfway through the film when they finally have that shot of the alien lifting the predator up to it, and then.
But then it goes into like. But then it goes into like shitty slow motion when like the predator's like swinging the alien around, and
he loves his slow motion.
When he cuts the alien's tail off, it goes slow motion. But I don't think it's actually slow motion. I think he's just moving really slowly. But then it like cuts right through as if it was really quick. And then it's like it's so inconsistent as well. The amount of times they like cut an alien's head off or something, and there should be a big spray of acid blood all over them. That's the whole thing of aliens.
The inconsistency with the acid blood is really annoying.
But like it whenever it suits the film, there's nothing like to be done. Like the acid blood doesn't even factor into it. This is the problem I have with this film, is that the action should be enough to make me kind of think, oh, well, I can sit through it. But I think it's really badly crafted action from a technical standpoint. There's no wide shots. There's no. It's just quick cuts. It's a crutch for bad directing. Is just quick edits. There's a GIF I retweeted recently from Taken 3, which is a 14-cut sequence of Liam Neeson jumping over a fence, and it's laughable. But it's because there's nothing interesting there. He's jumping over a fence, so they just cut from like a close-up of his face to his legs to the wide shot to the other side of the fence to the other side of the fence to him going up. It's ridiculous, and that's basically what this film's doing. And a good action director has faith in the choreography they've come up with. They'll have some wide shots. They'll let you see what the characters are doing. I don't know. It's just shit.
Well, I mean, just to try and give something back here, it's. I think the story, the setup, is an okay concept. That the predators are breeding the aliens to hunt them for sport. And they kind of... I don't really get the whole they're involved in helping human civilization thing. I'm not sure if that really stands up to any scrutiny. And then they destroy it at the slightest provocation. But I think the setup is okay, and then they're all trapped in this small space with the humans just get caught up in the crossfire, and it's like, that could work, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But then...
You could certainly make a really solid, like, horror movie out of it, even if you're not kind of getting into the more lofty sci-fi elements that some of the Alien films give you. But then I suppose that's almost why Calvin feels like it's more of the Predator franchise, perhaps, because it kind of is just disposable action fun. In the way that
completely.
Predator is.
I would never describe Predator as a horror film. Certainly, it's just sci-fi action. I don't think there's anything scary about it. And there's nothing scary in this film.
Yeah, but my point was that it could have been a good horror film.
Oh, right, yeah.
In the right hands.
But then the human characters are complete failures. We have no connection to them whatsoever. So none of that works. But then the predators versus the aliens, it's like you can't really get any good character out of them either. And particularly that main predator that lives, we kind of see a little bit of what he's doing. But it's so difficult, even for a good director, it would be difficult to get decent character out of that. And obviously Paul W. Sanderson can't get it out of a human, so he's not going to get it out of someone that can't talk. So I think that's kind of a bit of a crucial flaw in the whole setup, really. Because it's Alien versus Predator, but you need to make it about humans, and so it's really difficult.
So it's like a coming of age hunting ground, isn't it? This thing.
Yeah.
But the predators still keep coming there even after the civilization that was maintaining it is long dead, and that's a bit weird. But then also this whole thing of they mustn't reach the surface, and they're really like genuine concern about aliens getting to the surface.
Yeah, because they could then
why would that
swim
happen?
this 2,000 miles to the nearest land.
Yeah, but also this has clearly happened before. Like, and then aliens never got to the surface before. This thing's thousands of years old, isn't it?
No, they come every 100 years.
Yeah, so why would it suddenly be a problem?
Yep. Yeah.
Also, it annoyed me that guy kept calling the xenomorphs serpents.
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Like, they don't... Serpents? They don't look like a snake.
Yeah.
That was just... It just felt like such a crowbarred in... You know, like when you watch modern zombie movies, and The Walking Dead's particularly prone to this as well, the TV series, because each new clan has a different, name for the zombies, and none of them want to call them zombies because it's set in a world without them, so they have to go, oh, it looks like some sort of Walkie Dead man. Oh, there's 100 Walkie Dead men out there. Oh, it's some sort of lumber corpse. But you get all these names like biters and shufflers, and it's like, fuck off, just You wouldn't say that. You'd say it's a monster or it's an alien or you wouldn't go to serpent. That doesn't make any sense. You know what else is stupid is the way they crowbar the line "You're one ugly mother," but they can't even say it.
Oh yes, because this was
PG-13.
PG-13. Yes,
But
which
crowbar
I really felt watching it sort of in close proximity with the Alien films, where blood is everywhere, and you really do feel that this one's being held back.
Yeah, and they crowbar that line in twice. Doesn't work once. It's just so badly done.
Do they do a "Get Away From Her, You Bitch"? I can't remember.
No,
I don't think they do, actually.
Huh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Paul W.S. Anderson didn't find a way of putting some little girl in with them all. He seems to love doing that in Resident Evil.
That's pretty much all I have to say about the first one, really. I hate it.
I'm ready to leave it behind.
Do you reckon we could start some beef with Paul W.S. Anderson?
Oh no, leave him alone.
Well, no, it's just we're
wit
making stuff
to
up
come back
about
to
other
us.
people, but we've got like genuine problems with Paul W.S. Anderson, so maybe the sincerity of it will get us somewhere.
Do you think he's a nice person?
No.
I bet it's difficult to get through a conversation with him. Because he doesn't know how humans speak, so I think it's...
Interesting, though, that, I don't know, maybe he wasn't asked back, or I don't quite know why, but he didn't come back for the sequel or have any involvement in it.
Oh,
Well,
Alien vs.
this-
Predator, yeah.
Yeah, Requiem.
Aliens versus Predator Requiem. It's not connected.
Is it
to
Aliens
the other
versus
film.
Predator?
It's
Aliens.
No, it's
versus
AVPR : Aliens versus Predator - Requiem.
No.
Yes.
Can we just
Oh,
have
God,
a quick
it
word?
is.
Can we just have a quick comment about the word requiem? Apparently, it gets thrown about with abandon. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it means?
No, I have no idea.
Well, a requiem, it's a Catholic thing. It's a mass for the dead, basically. But then, in a more general sense, it just means, a memorial, or some kind of, tribute to the dead. But this, I don't know how the word requiem is relevant to this film in any way. It's not. I mean, people die in it, but it's not a memorial to them. I don't even know what it's supposed. I don't know what it thinks it means. Any ideas?
It's not like it's a catchy name that rolls off the tongue either. I could understand if it was just a cool word. I could understand the impulse to throw it in there, but
I wonder if they were just until the last minute going to call it just Aliens versus Predator, and then someone might have, some marketing person might have pointed out that people will be just thinking you've just done the same film again or something.
surely they could do Aliens versus Predators or something, or just AVP2 or something. I mean,
there is more Predators in this, in both films.
Yeah.
There's more than one.
yeah. There's loads of aliens in the first one, so it's weird that they make the jump from Alien versus Predator to Aliens versus Predator.
Yeah.
Predator.
Can I
The
start
Brothers
with this one?
Strauss. What the?
Because I just want to say, say what you will about Paul W.S. Anderson, he has at least watched the Alien films. Whoever made this appears to have never seen them or the Predator films, or even
A film?
perhaps was shown a picture of one of the aliens at some point. But right, just to put it right out on the table here, I think this is the worst. I would say this is the worst film I've ever seen, but I'm not sure it contains enough elements to actually be constituted as a film. I think there's too many things missing. I think it's essentially a overlong showreel for a visual effects company, and not a very good visual effects company at that. So I think it's. But yeah, to put it mildly, this is the worst film I've ever seen.
I must say, I used to be of the opinion that this one wasn't as bad as Alien versus Predator, the first one. That's because I watched them a long time apart from each other. AVP has the Paul W.S. Anderson's style really aggravates me, so it was on a more visceral level. It made me just
it's difficult to
angry
remove
at
that
the film.
personal hatred, isn't it?
Yeah. But rewatching this last night, I rewatched this one last night for the record, and Yeah, like it was worse than I even remembered. This is worse than the first one. I've got to concede that now. It is. It's really bad.
Yeah, I remember seeing this one at the cinema. Can you believe I was excited for it? I was.
Yeah, well,
I went to see it with my
that.
dad, and it was like, because all the buzz was like, oh, they're not held back by PG-13 anymore. They're just going to make it an R rating.
The first one was shit, but they've got rid of Paul W.S. Anderson. It's new people. They were talking a big game, I believe, in the lead up to it about how this was going to be the one to set things straight and get it all right. And also, it's the first time that you get aliens on like Earth.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
territory.
That's exactly where I was leading, because that to me was very exciting at the time, because we've never seen aliens in like a city environment, like in a reality that is relatable, and I was very excited about that. And then the film is obviously what it is, which is dreadful. I think I wouldn't say it's the worst film I've ever seen, but I think it's in my top 10 worst films I've ever seen. But these brothers, the brothers
I
Strauss,
believe for me it's like the 26th worst film I've ever seen.
That's specific. The brothers Strauss have a habit of they've only made, as far as I'm aware, 2 feature films. The other one being Skyline, which
was that them?
Yes, and I think that is the worst film I've ever seen. That is genuinely, but like on an offensive level.
I really didn't think Skyline was that bad.
Oh, I hated it.
We might as well get into this because we're never going to do an episode on it. So I remember I rented it out of like morbid curiosity, and I think you watched the DVD before I sent it back.
Yeah, I did.
Because I mean, it's really shit. I've just looked up. I gave it a 3 out of 10, but I didn't.
Generous.
High praise.
I didn't have that same visceral hatred reaction with it when I watched it. I could sit through it all right. I thought it was amusing enough watching Turk from Scrubs.
Wait a minute, can I? It's called Skyline. Is it about some people get trapped on one of those big zip line things on the ski resort? Oh, they get
that's
attacked
Frozen.
by something. Oh, damn. What's Skyline then?
This Skyline is aliens invade, and these people having a party in a high-rise apartment, and it's just sort of about what people do when aliens are coming in and they're harvesting brains.
Yeah, it goes mental at the end. Like there's this whole sequence where they harvest the main character's brains, so and then they put it in an alien, and then he like takes control of the alien because it's his brain or something, and then he runs around punching all the other aliens because he's looking for his girlfriend's brain. It's really bizarre. They've been trying to get a sequel to that off the ground for the last 7 years. They keep saying it's gonna be next year, and it's just. So if you're wondering what they've been doing...
made it! I'm just looking now. They didn't direct it. Some guy called Liam O'Donnell did it. They filmed it in December 2014, and by the looks of it, it's filmed and just never been released.
Oh my god. Well, there you go, because I was going to say, I think that's what they've been... You were sort of leading to they haven't done anything in a while if they've only done 2 films, but I think they've been trying to get this off the ground for the last many years.
They get steady work. I mean, they're like heads of a special effects company, and by the looks of it, they do a lot of big, like they did X-Men and 300 and Terminator, and they do a lot of good stuff. It's but just as storytellers, I think they're lacking. And also, I just want to, I might just be really pedantic about this, but the casual homophobia in their films really irritates me.
Yeah, no, I've made a note of that. Because this is the thing that really, I didn't remember really anything about this film, but what really struck me watching it this time is how much I hated the protagonist. From the very first scene, I just wanted him dead.
Which one? Which one is that?
The teenage kid. We see him in a pizza restaurant, whatever.
Yes,
and he goes in and he's like just being a knobhead, and his boss says, "Could you do this delivery?" And he's like, "I'm not doing that delivery." And he's like, "Well, it's not a democracy." And I feel like you're meant to be going, "Oh, what a knobhead boss! Well, let the kid not do it." It's like, no, do his job. Why has he got such a chip on his shoulder? Then he goes to this house, and And he's like, you know, I friends of mine delivered pizzas to my house when I was younger. It wasn't like that weird, and it was like, oh yeah, you know, here you go, I'll give you a bit of a tip. You know, how are you doing? Oh, nice to see you. It was never like embarrassing or a problem because everyone works a shit job at that age. I was working in a supermarket, and they could pop in and see me in the supermarket. And
yeah, exactly.
And then he walks in, and his retort to what do they say to him? They
say something. I don't know. They
say something like, "Oh, you look like an idiot" or whatever. And his retort is, "Oh well, at least now I know who ordered the sausage lovers." Yeah, and it's just like, what the fuck is that? That's like,
I know
it's like, really, it's really weak, but also it just sets the main character up as a homophobe. And then when he gets the shit beaten out of him 10 seconds later, I was like, yeah, good on him, like beat the shit out of him, little twat. I hate him.
But I think that is quite kind of realistic as the way teenage boys talk to each other.
It is, but it also doesn't endear me to this character.
Maybe not in your world, Calvin, but in the world where this is set.
I would probably forgive it had I not seen Skyline, where there's a scene where it's earlier on in the film, and Saul, you might remember this, there's like a party going on, and they're looking across the way into another building, and they see a guy who's getting sucked off, and he's like on the sofa, and he's like enjoying himself, and there's a load of guys around the window in the party, and they're like, yeah, go on, man, yeah, and all this, and then the person who's sucking him off comes up, and it's a guy, and then the reaction in the crowd is literally like, oh my god, and they're literally like screaming at what they've seen because it's so horrific, and it's just sort of like, what on like.
Well, I guess that's how dickhead men act with each other. Though.
Yeah,
well, the brothers Strauss are obviously dickhead men. Then, if they,
well, I can believe.
Yeah, like I say, it's. I'm not going to argue that like teenage boys wouldn't necessarily behave like that, but you're not endearing us to this character who we've just met if you're making him homophobic. Like, it's not. For a protagonist of a film, certainly like this, you don't want to mess about. Unless you've got a subplot where he kind of is forced to confront. He has to hide in an enclosed space with a flamboyant gay man because an alien's gonna come and get them if they don't hide.
I think you're missing the whole point. I don't think we're supposed to. I don't think the demographic audience of this film is going to watch that and go, "No, that's a bit out of order." He's going to go,
no, I completely...
those faggots gays.
No, that's why I said casual homophobia, because
I didn't even pick up on it, like, when I watched this film 10 years ago.
No, me neither.
So, I mean, you know...
No, it was literally just on this watch that I was kind of like, wait a minute, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. But just interestingly...
But I was 17 10 years ago as well, let's make that clear. Like...
And bear in mind, in those 10 years... Things have changed quite a lot in terms of casual homophobia and it being acceptable in kind of normal media like this. I think perhaps it wouldn't happen now.
There's no way it would get through the there's no way Fox execs would let it out like that nowadays.
Interesting. I'm just interested that you brought up this guy. Did you look into this actor at all?
No, what's he done?
He's dead. He went he went mad and like killed his old landlady, and then
what?
I think that someone, I can't remember if he killed himself or if the police like shot him or whatever. But yeah, he went like completely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now
his name?
Can feel bad. Johnny Lewis. I mean, he was in.
He watched this film and just sort of went, "What am I doing? I'm going to kill everyone and myself."
I mean, I bet it was a contributing factor, genuinely.
Like, oh my god, what's happened to my career?
Although he was in Sons of Anarchy, so he obviously had some acclaimed.
I mean, another one of my problems with this is that, I mean, as always, you've got these characters who are supposed to be like, 18, something like that? Yeah. Played by like 25-year-olds, yes. And they're written as 13-year-olds. Like they go, "Oh, you looking at my girlfriend? I'm going to smack you at face," like that. And then we're supposed to take that completely seriously as characters.
And that girlfriend,
bit of a slut.
No, but she's just inexplicably like into him, and he's a
no
dick.
Good reason.
He doesn't give her anything to like. She sort of she throws him a bone and sort of says like, "Hey, so I think you might be into me because you're always staring at me, a bit creepy, but okay, like that's fine." And he goes, "Oh, the clock's behind you, fuck off." And then she's like, all right, just come over here and I'll get naked in front of you at the swimming pool and it'll be all right. And it's just so... Well, it didn't ring true for me, put it that way. That wasn't my high school experience. Maybe that is what goes on.
Puts it quite succinctly. Doesn't ring true, these characters. I can only presume this film was written by a cat walking across a laptop, because it's just completely meaningless from beginning to end.
It was written by a guy called Shane Salerno, who I've never heard of before. What else has he done? He's going to be writing Avatar 2? Oh, and he apparently did an uncredited rewrite on the first film, the first AVP film.
Yikes.
That was his polished version.
So I'm very interested that you identified that teenager as the protagonist, because I thought his older brother was
It's because
the protagonist.
I really gave up after about 20 minutes. Like, I really just...
You mean
was
you weren't
not
getting
paying
into
attention.
the heartbreaking story of Kelly O'Brien, the soldier who's returned from, like, the Middle East to her distant daughter and husband that she really doesn't give a shit about, because
what was all that about?
as soon as the alien jumps in and kills her husband, she just like picks up the door, right, we're going, and the daughter's like, shouldn't we like see if daddy's all right? And she's like, no, we need to keep running. It's like, oh, you made that leap very quick.
No, like, all the notes I've made go about 20 minutes into this film, and then I just gave up because I couldn't like cope with it.
Well, the soldier woman. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the fact that she was a soldier doesn't come into play, because she doesn't act like a soldier later on, like where they're in a kind of combat situation, she takes control or something like that.
Well, she can drive the tank.
Yeah, okay, I guess that's the whole point of it, because all soldiers can drive tanks. Fact. And yeah, all trained helicopter pilots also double up as tank pilots. That's a well-known military thing.
Well, they're practically the same thing, Alan.
Yeah, it's just levers, isn't it, really? That's all it is.
Just stuff spinning round.
But then, like, the whole thing with her daughter, that there's obviously, like, she's got a strange relationship because she's been away, but then it never goes anywhere. They don't develop a relationship in these difficult circumstances. The husbands are killed, and they're just like, oh, yeah, well, he's dead, let's move on. It's the most basic elements of human character are missing from all these people. What is the point of any of this?
That was my biggest issue. Like, I kept looking. Like, I think I was. What was I doing? I think I was writing a pitch for an upcoming episode when it was on. So because I just got so bored with it, but I kept looking up at the screen and seeing people die, and I was just like, oh, this is just so. Or people running, and it was. I have no connection to any of this. I just don't care at all. Like,
well, I think I can sum it up pretty well. At one point, they're getting out of the tank, I think, and they're going to go to the hospital or whatever. And one of them comes out and really, really sincerely goes, "Everyone look after Kelly. Whatever happens, we take care of Kelly." And I was like, who the fuck is Kelly? What's going on? And I honestly didn't know who he was talking about. And I kind of assumed it must have been the little girl, I guess. But then it just came out of nowhere, where this really sincere, protect the children, man, kind of attitude, which hadn't been there before.
No. It's not the kid. Kelly is the mum. She's the only one who can fly the helicopter. That's why they want to protect her, because it's like, if she dies... shit.
At least that makes sense, because she has to fly the helicopter. That didn't come across at all. I was especially because the other character goes, oh, fuck this women and children first bullshit. So I kind of assumed it was like, oh, protect the child kind of thing.
That was a really weird line.
Well, that was a really weird character that just pops out of nowhere, so they've got someone else to kill.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it didn't. I'm not opposed to like someone expressing that viewpoint, but it's so clunkily written and so like just. Yeah, that's not how people speak. Like,
but that would have been perfect, because if he'd have gone, fuck this women and children first bullshit, and then he'd gone, she's the only one who can fly the helicopter, dickhead, that would have been a great little interchange.
Exactly.
And he would have had to go, oh yeah, fair enough, yeah. And it would have been good, but I didn't even pick up on that. I assumed it was the child, because I hadn't retained any of their names.
I remembered because they named one character Dallas, presumably after the captain from Alien. Yeah. But it's such an odd, like, I don't know if we're supposed to think they're relatives, or I have no idea what that's about. But he's the older brother of the young twat that we discussed earlier. And then there's also the sheriff.
who's the only actor I recognise from anything.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, he's in Fast and Furious. He was in Kong Skull Island. Yeah, he's one of those people. He pops up in all sorts of things.
We just watched all the Fast and Furious films. I have no memory of this man at all.
He was one of the main bad guys.
Oh, I probably didn't pay attention then.
Well, he plays it more kind of Hispanic in that. He's like a Hispanic bad guy.
Ah, maybe that's why. Here, I thought he was dreadful in this film. Like, every line delivery
They're
he
all
gave
dreadful.
Yeah, actually, no, they are. I think there is no redeeming person in this group of people, is there? Like, even in the other one, you've got Lance Henriksen and Ewan Bremer who are just sort of doing, halfway decent work. Here, there's no one.
And it must be lacking direction. Like, these directors are visual effects guys. I mean, that's their background. So maybe they just don't understand how to direct people. And because all right, these guys all might be shit actors, but they've still cast them. And then, and there's also, you can direct a shitty actor into something. And then there's nothing. The dialogue's got nothing to offer, so the actors have got nothing to work with.
But I don't know if it's the like that's the thing. The actors have got nothing to work with at all. Yeah. I could totally believe any of the actors in this film are capable actors. I just there was nothing for them to grasp onto in what they had to work with at all. It was just the most boring, bland dialogue and characterization, and just ugh.
So let's assume that the filmmakers went, nobody cares about the humans, it's all about aliens versus predator fighting. Yeah, let's just throw some characters in there to make it look good. So, how do we feel about the aliens versus predators bit?
Alan, you were just talking about like how maybe the brothers, they're not directors, they're visual effects guys. They want to, show off that kind of stuff. Like, I'm astonished at, if they're visual effects guys, show it off. Don't put it all in darkness and edit it into oblivion. I literally no idea what happens.
I think that's the thing. It's like in Skyline, you get a lot of that as well. But Skyline is a really, really low budget film, and they've done pretty damn impressive special effects work on it, all things considered. So you can understand the need to, like you say, hide it in darkness and quick cuts and things. This is a 20th Century Fox film that's part of both the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, and it's following on from what I believe was quite a financially successful Alien vs. Predator.
Yeah.
So it must have had a decent budget, surely.
Oh no, they cut the budget. Really? They cut it by a third. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel like an expensive film. It feels like quite a small, low-budget film. So that makes sense, but it still must have been like enough money to do. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, one thing as well. I'll say one thing that really. One of the reasons why both I think Skyline and the first Alien vs. Predator are better than this is that the confined setting kind of it limits the playing field a little bit. It just makes the story feel ever so slightly more focused. Whereas this is just broad, sprawling setting of just the world, really.
And that was one of my notes was... this is aliens on Earth at last, and now we see why it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
because it's too spread out. It's just
something. Right?
But always, wherever they run, there's a fucking alien there.
That's the thing.
We get no sense of the geography of the place or how closely tied they all are. And some of them go to a hospital, some of them go to the centre of town, where some shadowy government figure is going to kill everyone, and we don't really see enough of him to fathom, what's going on there.
I'm regretting my pitch now, actually, because I've just realised I should have done Die Hard versus Alien.
Alien in a building.
Well, how did you two feel about the Alien v Predator scenes? Because there's quite a lot of fighting in this one, right from the off.
Yeah, I mean, it was all filmed in a 8-foot by 8-foot room, I think.
It's just very uninteresting. Like it's just
I didn't like the face huggers were like all CGI. I didn't really like the look of them.
Yeah, they look really shit in this film. Really shit.
There is the big difference is that this one has a pred-alien.
Oh, yes.
Which is a good concept. It's a great concept, which they do nothing with.
It's like they hinted it at the end of the first one, but it's almost like a joke. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, look, we all know that's a thing that could happen. Like, what if a zombie bit a vampire? But at the same time, there's an element of, like, maybe this is something we should never actually explore in any real detail, because it's just inherently...
Well, no, I think as a concept it could work. The trouble is that the Pred alien is exactly the same as the other aliens. He just looks different, so we can distinguish him as a kind of, he's the main bad guy that we're going to deal with last. Yeah. But he doesn't act any differently. He's not smarter. He's not quicker or slower. Maybe he's not more predatory. He's nothing.
Only real advantage over human beings are the technology. So you'd have to have the Pred alien like kill a predator and pick up all its like guns and bombs and things, and have the intelligence to know how to use it for it to really be a worthwhile concept.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm not that great with female anatomy. Is the mouth connected to the womb? Is there any way?
It's a good question, Calvin, and no, it certainly is not. There's one way.
This film is very
womb,
confusing in that regard. There's these horrific scenes in which the Pred alien like latches onto the face of specifically pregnant women. Like, they make a point of any woman who is pregnant gets this thing.
It was really weird.
You see these things, the lumps like going down in their throat, so I guess it's like, okay, well, the thing can impregnate, but it goes specifically for pregnant women, and then when the, belly bursts, there are like 4 or 5 aliens in there. I'm not quite sure why.
I don't know why that's new. I even watched the Predator films, because I thought, I haven't seen Predator 2 for ages. I thought, maybe there's something in there where it establishes it as nothing in there about it.
I think they just thought, pregnant women, their stomach's bigger. That's how it works. Like, how big you are is if you have twins, it's because you get really fat when you're pregnant.
No.
But it's bigger because there's a fucking baby in there. It's not an open space.
No, I know. I'm just saying that it feels like the directors don't understand female anatomy either. Is what I'm saying. It feels like they're looking at it with a sense of, it's bigger, so that worked, wouldn't it?
There's that diner waitress earlier on who has just found out that she's pregnant. She's not even... Yeah, she's not showing, so she's not bigger, and she still spawns 3 of them for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, it's because there's one alien in the person, and then there's one alien in the fetus.
And where's the other one come from?
She was having twins.
They were all having twins.
They were all having twins.
Some of the pregnant women were having quintuplets. But that really bothered me. Like, I'm not one to, like... Obviously, they went for an R rating with this one. They thought, be damned with the holding back on the blood and guts and that sort of thing. But fair enough, fine.
That'll be why they cut the budget, won't it? I've just realised. It'll be an exchange for making it... okay.
But when they just make it so... my sensibilities weren't offended necessarily. Like, if you want to show a pregnant woman dying on screen or a child dying on screen, fine. But it has such a nasty attitude to it. Like, I don't know if like the film starts with a boy and his dad out on a hunting trip, and then they both get facehuggers, and you see a alien burst out of the chest of this like 8-year-old boy or whatever. And I don't know what reaction I'm supposed to have to that, because am I meant to be like, yeah, come on, blood and guts and stuff, or because I'm just sort of a bit sort of like, I'm not upset by it.
It's weird.
Me an icky
I know what
kind
you
of
mean.
feeling.
It is weird, and I don't really know why.
Because it's so gratuitous. There's no good story reason.
But that's it. It's not even necessarily to do with it being a child. Like, when Kane in Alien has the chest burster, it's a shock because we've established the character and we kind of understand where all these characters are coming from. And it's like, we understand the emotional impact it's having on them.
That's it. The film treats it as horrific. Whereas this film just kind of doesn't spend any time on any of that. It just glosses over it all. Even Alien versus Predator didn't shy away from how horrible it would be to, have that happen to you. The characters sort of acknowledge how unpleasant it is and what have you. That character like wants to kill himself at one point rather than have it happen to him, doesn't it? So I think it's just that the film just never really stops to acknowledge what's happening or breathe and let the characters be characters, let the characters behave like human beings. I don't know though, because even then the that wouldn't explain like the kid at the start because there's no one around to.
But and then also like the homeless people who get face hugged as well. It's like we see this little vignette of their life before they. It's like we don't need that. We either need it to be established characters so we care that they're dead, or we need them to find the bodies and go, oh, something's burst out of this, and we as an audience go, oh, aliens are coming, and we get it. We don't need the little sort of comedy sketch with the funny homeless people.
And there is the little ending sting on this one with Ms. Yutani.
Oh, I turned it off like as soon as the
weird government guy. Oh no, we haven't talked about how they nuke everything yet. Because isn't that just the biggest load of bullshit ever?
Like what's that like?
I loved it. Like in some of the deleted scenes and bonus materials, Kelly, the soldier, had this whole like subplot at one point where she was saving these two girls, kids or whatever, from aliens, and then they went off with to the center of town where everyone thinks they're being picked up, and they cut that whole subplot because at some point they worked out, oh wait a minute, everyone dies anyway, so why are we getting people invested in this? Because that's basically it. It's like they just kill everyone. It's four of the characters, the soldier and a daughter, the young twat and his older brother. They get on the helicopter and make it away, while this like government guy, Colonel Stevens, I believe is his name, just nukes the place. And that's it. That's the end.
I think I've just remembered that young guy gets like pierced through the body with a thing, and then afterwards has a bit of a limp because of it. It's like that's all that happens. It's like he just got speared through the heart with an alien tail thing.
Yeah. Anyway, those characters make it away, and the government find them and presumably keep them alive. I don't really know what, like, if you're willing to nuke a town for containment and you want to keep this all very hush-hush, I'm not quite sure why they want to keep it all very hush-hush, that aliens have arrived and blah-de-blah.
Well, how do you keep a nuclear detonation in Colorado or whatever?
Well, as we've seen in the Resident Evil films, you basically just need to, like, what is it? You play it up as a nuclear power plant going wrong, and like any evidence is just part of a hoax that some pranksters have perpetuated that the police are going to want to speak to them about for some reason. So that's how you do it. Although I guess if there isn't a nuclear power plant anywhere near the town, then they might be in trouble.
There is a power plant. I love how is it the Pred alien or the aliens? I love how they know to go to the power plant that's outside of town so that they cut the power to the entire town so it's all in darkness. No one can actually turn on a light. It's very...
They've got a strong understanding of infrastructure.
Yes, it seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so they all die. How do we feel about that?
Very glad, really.
So indifferent about everything that happens in this film after about 10 minutes. I'm just numb to it.
Doesn't it just annoy you on on a basic writing level? That is such a fuck you to an audience who, God, if anyone did ever get invested in this kind of a story, then God, I can't imagine. But to just say at the end, middle finger, yep, they're all dead, and that's it.
Well, I could go with that if we had any sort of background to the person who's having to drop the bomb and having to go, well, this isn't a momentous decision, but for the greater good, we have to do it. These things get out, they're going to kill everyone. We have to make the sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm the same. If it depends how it's played. If it actually acknowledged the weight of it, and and if there was potential for a sequel that had to somewhat deal with the fallout of it as well, because I like seeing the fallout of these. Messy, not literal fallout. The mess, the paperwork that has to be done. That's my sort of film. But it's the fact that it's so like blasé about the whole thing. It's just like, oh yeah, it's bomb, great. Our main character got away, didn't they? So that's all right, fine.
Yeah, and then we have the government official go to Ms. Yutani and present a Predator weapon. And then there's some kind of cryptic line... I did watch this
little end nugget. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about it, yeah.
There's some kind of cryptic line about, but it's not from our world, is it, Ms. Yutani? And then that's
acting's so bad in that little bit. It's like worse than the rest of the film.
Yeah. I don't know if they thought that Ms. Yutani would come back in other installments or what the plan was there. But yeah, I guess they've overdone Wayland, haven't they? It's all about Wayland. We never actually get much about the Yutani side of the corporation. Anyway, they never made another one. Or they haven't done yet. They do seem to be going back to the both franchises with Prometheus and Predators to try and give it some credibility again. Like, bring in decent directors.
Do you think we'll get another one in like the foreseeable future? Because cinematic universes are a big thing now. So it's from a marketing point of view, it would make a lot of sense for some Fox exec to go in and pitch. You know, we get Alien Covenant done. We get The Predator that Shane Black's currently making out there. We reinvigorate the both franchises. We let what's that guy called? The District 9 man. I've forgotten his name.
Oh yeah.
We let him make his
Jesper Blomqvist, something like that.
Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, Jesper Blomqvist plays for Man United. Used to play for Man United. That's what I'm thinking of.
But, you know, we let him make his Alien movie whilst Ridley Scott's making a Prometheus movie and there's a Predator movie. And then we make Alien vs. Predator 3, the big crossover, and it's all synergy. Like, it makes sense.
If they did Alien vs. Predator again, it certainly wouldn't take into account these two films. It would
yeah. There's no way they'd call it Alien vs. Predator 3. They'd call it Alien vs. Predator...
just open a dictionary and pick a word.
BioWars. The Alien versus the Predator.
I suppose my problem with the whole matchup to begin with is I think of the Alien as being a more classy franchise, really, than Predator. So I think by doing Alien versus Predator, I think of them more as Predator films because it just cheapens the Alien brand so much. It feels very in line with what Predator movies do. Yeah. Alien, I think, is above this, and I think that's what they've realised, and they're trying to, you know, bring back some credibility to with Ridley Scott and whatnot.
Which we'll talk about in a minute. In about an hour.
Well, in a week for people listening.
Real time.
Don't let him see behind the curtain, Alan.
Maybe you're on metric time, Alan.
Should we pitch what we do with this? If Fox came and said, "Look, we've got this Alien versus Predator thing going on, but we clearly don't know what the fuck we're doing, so we're turning to you as just like a left field choice. 'Cause how could it pick
you random 20-something?
Yeah, you're a lot cheaper than the Brothers Strauss, and it couldn't possibly be any worse, so why not?"
I'm actually interested to hear what Alan's pitch is going to be.
Yeah. Because Alan, you don't like lowbrow action fun. You just like poncy, like pretentious, boring shit. So, should we predict this, Calvin? Let's.
Oh yes, let's do it. I think it's going to be some kind of character study
about someone dealing with depression who ultimately, someone dealing with postnatal depression, and then like they end up like pregnant with an alien in them, and I reckon it's going to be about the, like I was saying before, about the government dealing with the like paperwork, and there's just someone doing their it's like a low-level grunt at the office where they're kind of examining this Predator tech. Maybe at Wayland, or no, what's it, Yutani? What's it called?
Yutani, yeah.
Yeah, maybe something with that, and it's, I don't know. Actually, maybe it's going to be like Alien runs for president.
I think it's going to be like When the Wind Blows, and it's going to be about them dealing with the radiation poisoning that's come out of this nuclear bomb. So Kelly and her daughter may be alive, but they're bald and have cancer.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a real like just study of how the like town is just like, all the surrounding towns all have the hair falling out, and they have to like revert to a feudal farming system because the country's infrastructure falls apart, and most of the crops won't take because the ground's like just enriched with radiation and yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, the first
close?
mistake you've made here. No, the mistake you've made here is assuming I would even think about doing something to do with Aliens versus Predator Requiem. Obviously, immediately banished it from my mind before. Yeah, I pretty much just went with the okay, let's make a stupid action film, but try and kind of embrace it rather than make it shit like the Strauss brothers did. I did consider doing just a straight up shot for shot remake of Alien, but instead of humans, they were predators.
I considered that. Yeah, subtitled.
But no subtitles like the Star Wars Holiday Special, and you can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you wouldn't need any dialogue in that. You barely need the dialogue in Alien, really. There's only a few little bits of exposition.
Well, what piqued my interest really was why we always seem to be asked to identify with the predators rather than the aliens in these matchups.
Because they're more
particularly in the first
humanoid.
Alien vs Predator. Exactly, because they're more human. They are humanoid for a start.
But the xenomorph
they use technology.
Is also much more of a feral thing. It's not played as something that thinks and reasons to the same extent, although there are instances where they, kill each other to get acid blood to escape and stuff.
That's it. And what I don't like about all these films is that everyone's so quick to kill the aliens. Like they're these terrible beasts. And then
yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge them that.
I don't mean just in a kind of an immediate threat sense, but it's just like, we have to wipe this species off the face of the universe forever, which I think is a little bit harsh. The first time people met,
Bears.
a lion, they probably felt that it was a little bit kind of aggressive.
I just love that Saul went to bears.
I love bears.
And the other thing I want to address is this idea that the predators are some sort of great warrior race, because it's certainly in the first Alien vs Predator. The only reason it all goes tits up is because they haven't got their weapons. The humans accidentally kind of take the weapons, and so they just don't know how to cope with these aliens, and they get killed really easily.
But aren't they doing a? I might have completely imagined this to make the film make more sense, but aren't they doing a kind of coming of age ritual? So the idea is these are young, inexperienced predators being sent in.
I think that might be the. But then what are you learning from shooting something? Like, just it's not like they're not.
Yeah, well, there's rich twats in our world who go up to Africa to shoot. Like,
exactly. Let me read you this sentence from my notes.
Okay. I've always assumed that is what the Predator. That's what's happening in Predator. They're just like twatty. They're a race of warriors, and they put value on this sort of thing. But the Predators coming over here, they're just coming on a hunting holiday.
Well, this is it. This is what I've put. They come to Earth as trophy hunters, like a safari. So we have every reason to believe that they are the Predator equivalent of a dentist from Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna embrace that idea.
I don't think the Predator films even shy away from that, though. Like, I don't think that's I think that's sort of an element of satire that is present in those films.
I think you're reading way too much into the Predator films there. I think they're supposed to be this great kind of warrior sort of thing, and I don't know. I think you're trying to give it too much credit there, frankly.
Fair enough. Maybe that's why.
Well, what I'll do is make it much more obvious, I guess. So I'm going to call my film Predator versus Alien, and it's going to be set thousands of years ago in some sort of non-specific ancient civilization with pyramids and stuff, because that's the idea, right? They've been coming for years and years. In Predators. No, not in Predators. In Predator 2, when we see the trophy cabinet and there's an alien skull there, there's also like a T-Rex skull there, which suggests the Predators have been hunting on Earth for 65 million years, or however long it is since T-Rex was around.
Yeah, or that the engineers in Prometheus put T-Rexes on another planet and put a load of shit on different planets, and he was like, I'll go to the dinosaur planet, then I'll go to the
You're getting ahead of my Prometheus pitch. Okay. Don't go too far. So with the help of the predators who they worship as gods, these simple folk have built pyramids and all that. And then when the time comes, they're called on to sacrifice some of their people to the predators so that they can become, impregnated with xenomorphs and all that sort of thing, right? This is stuff that was set up in the first Alien vs. Predator. Okay, but because they want to breed the biggest and best xenomorphs, the predators insist on having the biggest and best members of these tribes or whatever for sacrifice. So that's how we introduce our principal characters, why we can have some sort of inter-tribe tournament designed to show who's the strongest, the fittest or whatever. It's like a kind of old school Olympics sort of thing. You can see people competing, wrestling, lots of kind of naked men with oil on them and all that sort of thing. So obviously during this we will establish who the main character is going to be, who will be played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Perfect.
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, exactly. So then let's say you end up with this core group of, say, 12 people who are going to be sacrificed, and they could all be kind of strong or super great in some way. You don't have to be all big muscly guys. They can be kind of different types. And they get taken into this pyramid. They think they're going to receive some sort of great honor, but what the high priest of the tribe knows that they're actually going to be sacrificed or whatever. I don't know. We sort of deal with that in the details. They get locked in this room with a load of alien eggs that have been provided by the predators. They figure out what's going on, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson figures out what's going on. It all kicks off. They try and get away. Some of them get face hugged. Some of them get away. So then we'll end up with, like, say 5 people who've got away. The other ones have been impregnated, and so we know we're gonna get that many aliens. And then the predators come to kind of kill the aliens, and it's all enclosed in this pyramid thing. So it's like this like a hunting ground, but it's all very enclosed and controlled for them, because the predators who are hunting, there should be like one main guy who's like the leader. He's the one who knows what he's doing because he's taking these idiots on safari, and then the other 3 are like the idiot predators who are kind of, and you have to show them being like clumsy or like they're just pissing about and they're not taking it seriously, because they're not even like good hunters. They're just like, oh, they paid the money, someone tie up a boar next to a post so I can shoot it, that sort of thing, right? So I don't know how you'd show that. Maybe just have some comedy elements of the predators. I don't know, how would you show humans being sort of goofballs?
I wouldn't put a pig in it. That'll really affect your distribution in the Middle East.
I didn't mean literally a pig. I was using that as a metaphor for the human sacrifices and all that.
Oh, okay then. Oh, good thinking, Alan.
I think you can show a pig being killed in the Middle East. You don't want to put a cow in there getting killed for other markets.
There's no animals. That was an analogy. What are you talking about? Are you listening to me?
You should have a parrot. That'd be great. Just have a parrot sidekick.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm going to pitch a squirrel that sits on the shoulder.
Oh, genius! Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a prehistoric
red
squirrel. So it's a bit a beautiful red squirrel.
Yeah, but like you say, like a prehistoric red squirrel.
Yeah, voiced by Bruce Willis.
Oh yes.
Brilliant. I think you can all agree, Alan, we have saved your idea.
And in his free time, he solves mysteries.
See, this is what happened to the Strauss brothers. They're actually creative geniuses.
It's a lot better than your pig idea, Alan.
I didn't have a pig idea.
Yeah, you're trying to backtrack now.
Look, Alan, we're trying to make your idea financially viable here, right? We're trying to help you out.
My point is that you would show the predators like being bad predators, like drinking or something like that, like the equivalent of like they'd be getting pissed. But anyway, my film is just your standard like blah blah blah. There's loads of action. They're in a pyramid, and so it's like all the rocks will move for no reason, and then trap them in rooms and stuff. But basically, my switcheroo I want to do is that the Predator's the bad guy, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and one of the Xenomorphs have to team up to kill the main Predator to stop him killing them, and then during this process they'll kind of form some sort of unspoken bond.
Does he at the end? Does he ride into battle on the back of an alien?
Let me read
horse?
my last sentence in my pitch. By coming together to destroy the Predator, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the Xenomorph form an unspoken bond, and the final scene is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson riding the alien into the sunset.
Oh,
that'd be so good.
Which could lead to a sequel where maybe he has to go back to his tribe and get all them because they sacrificed him and he's pissed off about it, or something like that. I really like the idea of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on it, alien's back.
I do. That'd be really good.
Yeah. Huh. I think that would be great, actually. Yeah.
All right, that's me.
Shall I do mine?
If you want.
Well, I'm going to do Alien versus Predator versus Resident Evil. And we're going to combine all these franchises together.
Okay.
So we start with
So it's
Mila
basically just a way
Jovovich.
to get Mila Jovovich up against the aliens without it
Pretty much.
being too overtly nepotistic, if that's a word.
So we start with Mila Jovovich, and like all those films start with her doing a voiceover. So she does a voiceover of "I'm Alice, the Umbrella Corporation has infected the world" and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she is the only survivor on Earth. So she has left Earth. We open the film this way. She's taking off to go and find life on another planet. Does
this end with the Umbrella Corporation? Like, there's a big board meeting and they go, right, we've fucked a lot of stuff up here. We need to sort out our branding. Let's change our name to the Weyland-Yutani Corporation.
So she goes into hyperspace. So she is zooming through space and she's preparing cryosleep. But oh no, there's zombies on ship. So obviously, so we have a bit of action, of course. But the ship crashes, and it crashes.
Man. Imagine if the zombies come and see her in the cryopod, and she's like surrounded by zombies in the pod, and she's got to escape. That'd be a tense scene.
Oh, ooh.
It's too
That
good
would
for this
legitimately
film,
be
but-
quite too good for. I'm pitching this as a Paul W.S. Anderson film, so there'll be no tension.
Okay.
Anyway, the ship crashes on LV-426, which I think we'll all remember as the planet from the first Alien, where the characters go down and find the eggs. So there's more action here. Alice ends up in the giant space jockey ship where all the alien eggs were, and some facehuggers jump out at her and she kills them and stuff. But a couple of them latch onto the faces of the zombies that are chasing her around. So they're neutralized.
This is great. Zombie aliens. It's fantastic.
Zombalians.
Zombalians. Alice leaves. She runs outside. She's like really distressed by this whole experience, and she bumps into John Hurt, Veronica Cartwright, and Tom Skerritt. Yes, Alien and Resident Evil take place in the same universe, and the events of Alien were happening concurrently with events in Resident Evil, and now we're rewriting the first film's timeline. So, Alice faints from stress or something and ends up back on the ship where she's woken up by...
She is prone to that, isn't she? Whenever in a difficult situation, she just passes out.
Yeah, just faint, and then... she's woken up by Sigourney Weaver on the Nostromo ship. And we have scenes of the pair talking, and I don't really know how this could happen, but I was like, it would be nice if there was a little girl on the ship that they both could like fight over because they both want to be her mother.
The Red Queen like hacks into the ship.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
But just a quick question: how are we going to render, for example, John Hurt?
They did it with Peter Cushing. So there's probably going to be a little girl in there somewhere. I don't know how. Yeah, no, Soul fixed it. The Red Queen hacks in, and she's doing stuff, and they're fighting over her and that. But anyway, the zombies were obviously brought back on the ship because the crew thought, they must have been part of Alice's team or whatever. And of course, aliens burst out of them, and now we have zombie aliens who are more or less the same.
So they go around going, brains, moving really slowly.
Presumably they're just weaker than normal aliens. Like, presumably they're just slower, shambolic. decaying aliens.
Oh no, these are Resident Evil alien zombies. So they may or may not be fast.
Zombies, yeah.
They may or may not.
So they're aliens covered in talc.
Well, no, they're animals, so it'd be like spaghetti. Or you can have a spaghetti dog alien.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, all right. So a dog's come as well, and there's a spaghetti dog alien thing in there as well. Anyway, the rest of the film plays out much as you would expect from a Paul W.S. Anderson film remaking Alien and inserting Resident Evil into it. There's action and moments that are supposed to be scary but don't work until eventually the crew are whittled down and we're left with Mila, Sigourney, Jones the cat, and the little girl.
Oh, Jonesy!
Jonesy, yeah, little cat.
Oh, yeah.
And so they get into the escape pod, and it plays out much like the first Alien film, and they shoot off. They put the little girl into cryosleep, and then they get their kits off and stand very close to each other for dialogue's purposes. And then until it turns out, there's a zombie alien on board, and they duke it out, kicking its face in and doing some wire foo before the cat hits the airlock button, and Mila gets in the final blow and says something like "air lock and load, bitch." And then kicks.
You know what I think Mila Jovovich would do in a fight with an alien?
What would she do?
It'd be trying to get up against. She'd be holding it back. Its little mouth would like come out of its big mouth and just miss her, and then she would grab the little mouth with her hand.
Yes.
And like, I don't know if she'd snap it off or if she'd kind of like lead the whole alien like around with it and like slam them into walls and punch them with it.
Perfect. That's what we want in this film. We don't want any tension. We just want overblown camp action.
You can rip their little mouths out, as Sigourney Weaver did it in Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, she did to a dead one though, not an alive one.
It sort of flops around like a big rubber dildo.
Anyway, that's the end of the film. They both go into cryosleep, but there's a post-credits scene. Because this is a Resident Evil film as well, we have to have some kind of cliffhanger in here, and I haven't actually used a Predator yet. So, Albert Wesker comes riding in on the back of a Predator and says something shit like, "It's just the beginning," and then that's the end of the film.
He should smash in on the back of a Predator, and then he should say, "I'm one ugly mother," and that's the end of the film.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't put that line in mine either. Oh shit.
No, but Paul W.S. Anderson clearly loves that line. He'll work it in.
You need to get the bitch line in there. I was very impressed they managed to get the "get to the chopper" line in AVP Requiem.
Well, they put a helicopter in it specifically for that reason.
All for that one line. So, Saul, what's your pitch?
Well, I went back to the comic book origins that we've mentioned already. But I haven't just done a straightforward let's adapt the comics, because we've had them, they've had a shot at them. I think we need to do something a bit different first, just to kind of cleanse the palate, and maybe we can go back to it a bit later on. So I've decided that we will adapt the Batman versus Aliens comic book, which is a thing.
Wait, what? Batman v Alien?
Batman versus Aliens is a comic book.
No.
They've done there's Batman versus Aliens, there's Superman versus Predator, there's Batman versus Superman versus Alien versus... There's every combination of those things. I think sometimes Terminator gets involved. Like, there are comic books of all of this stuff. RoboCop as well, he's done some of it. RoboCop versus Terminator.
Huh.
But I've read Batman versus Aliens. So I thought I'd start there. I mean, what I was going to pitch initially was just that you, like, do this properly and you get someone who is going to take it seriously, who's talented, make a good Predator movie, throw some aliens in. But Batman versus Aliens just seems like a better, like I say, way to cleanse the planet. Cleanse the palate. A better way to cleanse the palate. So at this point, you might as well just set it in the DC universe, because like that thing's a fucking mess and it's not going to mess things up if aliens are in there too. So
wait a minute, what's in the DC universe? Batman,
Suicide. I mean the DC thing they've got going on at the minute with Ben
Suicide
Affleck
Squad,
and Suicide Squad and all that shit.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, just might as well have Ben Affleck as Batman, I guess. So Batman's sent to investigate the disappearance of a Wayne Enterprise geologist in a jungle near the Guatemalan and Mexican border. He encounters an American special ops team sent to hunt some sort of target there, and they both make their way inside this ancient pyramid thingy. The comic came out in 1997, by the way, so it predates the Alien vs Predator film. So any similarities forgiven, because AVP
It also
ruined it.
also predates when Batman became good. So that's what we're dealing with.
So yeah, basically the characters are all picked off except for Batman. It's all good fun, just aliens killing people and shit. And then at the end, the shifty double-cross villain that wants to sell the aliens to the government or something gets eaten by a new alien, and this alien is one that's come out of a crocodile. And this is all from the comic book because I've read it.
Oh no way! Really?
Yeah,
oh, that's quite cool.
There's a crocodile alien
like
at the end, and he has a big fight with it, and eventually manages to throw it into the mouth of a volcano. And he throws it into the mouth of a volcano to kill it.
Why is he near a volcano?
Just happened to be nearby.
He's in Guatemala, Mexico border. There's some
They're famous for the volcanoes.
Yeah, there's some they're in a temple.
And crocodiles.
There's a volcano, whatever.
I'm gonna have to Google this crocodile alien thing because I'm very curious.
They really haven't done enough in the films to embrace the aliens from different creatures thing, have they?
No, they just did the dog in Alien 3, and that's about it, really.
Yeah. And the Pred alien. But yeah, then the end is just that's it really. But you're setting up the sequels, so then you've got, like I say, every single combination imaginable of Alien versus Predator versus Superman versus Batman, and that's what they do for the next 5 years. It'll be good fun. So yeah, that's my bit.
Oh, that's very. Yeah.
And you know what? That Batman versus Aliens comic book is all right. It's good fun. It's not like proper stuff, but it's the right level of fun that this stuff should have been pitched at. It's what Alien vs Predator should have been, but failed to be.
Okay. Well, this is probably the worst films we've ever done in one episode. The worst. Have we done? I mean, we did Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, yeah.
Calvin at least liked those.
I guess in terms of our collective opinion on the films, yeah, this is probably the most we've all hated it. Apart from maybe 50 Shades of Grey, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think I hate these more.
I mean, quite remarkably, the Paul W.S. Anderson film has come out as the better film.
Yeah.
I mean, we would never have predicted that. Let's be fair.
Oh dear.
That Aliens vs Predator Requiem might be the best thing that ever happened to Paul W.S. Anderson's career.
Yeah.
As always, thanks for listening to Diminishing Returns, and if you'd like to support us further, then please subscribe, rate and review us on iTunes, and you can also follow us on Facebook and or Twitter. Come back next week when we conclude our Alien season with Prometheus.